Hello everyone, thanks for attending our tutorial, and this will be the final part of today's talk. I will give you a brief summarization. Our tutorial mainly focuses on this figure, and we tried to cover the work related to VLN displayed on this timeline. We started this tutorial by introducing the tasks and datasets in the VLN. I presented many details about the R2R and Reverie, which are two milestone datasets in the VLN. Then I introduced the dialog VLN and fine-grained instruction VLN with more examples. I also discussed the widely used evaluation matrix in the VLN. In that section, Peter also introduced the IXR, which is a larger multi-language VLN dataset. In the second session, we mainly focus on the VLN methods. Singh has presented several classical models in the VLN, such as the speaker follower model, environment drop, and RCM. And he then focused on the generalizable VLN methods. Peter also introduced the evaluation of generated navigation instructions in this session. In the third part, Yoav and Peter show how can we process to realistic VLN through three case studies. The first case is real-life observations, and he mainly talked about the touchdown example, which is an outdoor VLN dataset. Then he discussed the real-life control, which is about mapping instructions to continuous control with the quadcopter draw. And finally, Peter talked about the challenges and methods for simulator to real transfer. Okay, now I want to share some of our recent studies. Through the years, agents with different model architectures and training mechanism have been proposed for both indoor and outdoor VLN. In this figure, we show the performance of the recent navigation methods on the room-to-room test set. And we also show human performance. We can see that the study of VLN seems to have reached a performance ceiling since only minor improvements were obtained in the past 2 years. Then although researchers have increased the model complexity with the help of BERT and transformers, there still remains a big gap between machine and human performance, even when large-scale pre-trainings are applied. This motivates us to find the reason behind this. So to better understand how VLN agents make decisions during navigation, we conduct a series of experiments on indoor and outdoor VLN tasks. We try to answer the following questions that might help us locate the deficiencies of current model designs and explore further research directions. So we want to ask, what can agents learn from the instructions? So do they pay more attention to object tokens or direction tokens? So what do the agents capture from the visual environments? Are they staring at the closely surrounded objects, or also browsing further layouts? Do they focus on individual visual instances or precise the overall outline? And can agents match textual tokens to visual entities? So in this recent paper, we try to figure out the answers of these questions. We first examine whether and to what extent the agent understands navigation instructions. To be specific, we focus on how the agent perceives object-related tokens and direction-related tokens, and their effects on final navigation performance. We create counterfactual interventions on instructions by masking out the object tokens. Specifically, we randomly masked out different ratios of object tokens or masked out the same amount of random tokens as controlled trials, as shown in this table. Then we examine the average treatment effects of the invention or agent's performance, while keeping other variables unchanged. So in this example, Here, in this example, there are 6 object tokens in the original instruction, marked out in blue. If we randomly masked out 50%, then 3 will be replaced by the mask. Here we show the model's navigation performance when different proportions of object tokens are masked out. Intuitively, with the increase of mask rate, all models' performance drop. And compare figure A and figure B, masking out the object tokens result in more decrease in success rate than masking out random tokens. This holds true for all indoor agents on both validation sets with sane and unseen environments, which indicates that indoor agents indeed refer to object tokens in R2R instructions during navigation. However, when we compare figure D and figure E results on the touchdown, we notice in surprise that masking out the object tokens has a weaker impact on task completion rate than masking out random tokens. This suggests that current outdoor navigation agents do not pay much attention to the object tokens in touchdown instruction when making decisions. So figure 3 actually shows the indoor and outdoor navigation agent's performance when a different number of direction tokens are masked out from all instructions. So comparing figure A and figure B, masking out the direction tokens causes the success rate to drop more than masking out random tokens, which means the indoor navigation agents to take the direction tokens into consideration during navigation. When it comes to the outdoor navigation agents, mask out direction tokens leads to a drastic decline in task completion rate compared to random masking, as shown in figure C and figure D. So this indicates that current outdoor navigation agents heavily rely on the direction tokens when making decisions. Given the complicated visual environments and instructions in the outdoor navigation task, current agents fail to fully make use of the instructions, especially ignoring the rich object-related information. So previous studies have noted that it's so for agents to recover after making mistakes. This leaves us wondering about the model's robustness when manually introducing errors at different navigation stages. So here we remove a few objects and direction tokens that appear at different positions in the instruction and inspect to what extent can agents withstand such human errors. Here the x-axis represents the relative position of where the masking takes place, and the y-axis represents the success rate. In the figure A, when object tokens at different positions are masked out, all model success rates on R2R validation on scene set have minor changes. On R2R validation scene set, there are more salient drops in success rate when object tokens at the end of the instruction are masked out. This suggests that object tokens at different positions are almost equally important to indoor navigation agents. And object tokens at the end of the instruction may be given more attention since it provides information on where to stop. And in figure C, the trend of the performance change rise when object tokens at different positions are masked out. Considering outdoor navigation models' poor understanding of object tokens, it is hard to conclude how object tokens at different positions affect the final outdoor navigation performance. And in figure B and figure D, the navigation performance is worse when direction tokens that locates at the start of the instruction is masked out. This means that if the agent gets lost at the initial stage, it is hard to get back on track again. Such results coincide with the nature of the VLN task as a curriculative decision-making process. Indoor agents will refer to object tokens in R2R instructions during navigation, while outdoor agents do not pay much attention to object tokens. That's the first message we learned from our previous test. And the second takeaway message of the experiment is that indoor agents will take direction tokens into consideration when navigating, while out-of-door agents heavily rely on direction tokens when making decisions. And the third, the object tokens at different positions are almost equally important to indoor navigation agents. Well, other than checking the impact of instructions, we also check the effect of the environment objects from the visual side. Our tool obtains detailed objects instances and notations and serve as an excellent source for our visual objects studies. Touchdown is based on Google Street View and doesn't acquire such object-related annotations. Thus, we only conduct experiments on the indoor VLN environments. We refer to the region that lays further than 3 meters from the camera viewpoint as the background area, and within 3 meters as the foreground area. Here we show an example of the visual bounding box in the foreground and a comparison with that of all the visual objects in the environment that can be seen from the current viewpoint. So when we apply random masking to all the visual objects in the current view, as shown in the figure A, the success rate declines with the increase of mask rate. However, if we only mask out the visual object within 3 meters, as illustrated in figure B, the agent's performance actually rarely changes. This is probably because there are only a few objects within 3 meters, and even fewer visual objects are masked out. And we add a controlled trial in figure C, where we mask out the same amount of random visual objects regardless of their depths. So to study the effect of directions in the environment, we randomly flip some of the viewpoints horizontally. Thus, the object's relative positions at the flipped viewpoints will be reversed. Presumably, suppose the agent can follow the instruction and find the corresponding direction to approach. In that case, the swapped viewpoints will misguide the agents in the opposite direction and lower the navigation success rate. As shown in this figure, with more and more viewpoints being swapped from left to right, the successful rate declines for all 3 agents. This actually verifies our previous finding that indoor agents are able to understand directions in the instruction. So here are the takeaway message of the experiments we're doing. So instead of merely staring at surrounding objects, indoor agents can set their sights on objects further from current viewpoints. This is unknown before. Aside from recognizing each individual object, transformer-based agents also form a better understanding of the global features. So these findings actually coincide with the trend in the VLN, that is using transformers. There are already some previous work introduced transformers and pre-training into the VLN models, for example, the press, prevalent, and the VLN BERT. However, one common property of these models is that they all only use VLN as an encoder to encode both visual and textual information. The navigator network is not integrated into the transformer. So one question worth to think about is, can we also have a transformer-based navigator so that a single transformer can do both feature encoding and action prediction? So in this year's CVPR, we proposed a recurrent BERT model that is time-aware for use in VLN. So specifically, we equip the BERT model with a recurrent function that maintains cross-mode state information for the agent. Here is the scheme for the VLN recurrent BERT. At initialization stage, the entire instruction is encoded by a multi-layer transformer, where the output feature of the CLS token serves as the initial state representation of the agent. During navigation, the concatenated sequence of state encoded the language and new visual observation is fed to the same transformer to obtain the updated state and the decision probabilities. The updated state and the language encoding from initialization will be fused and applied as input at the next time step. In this way, we use a single transformer for both feature fusion and sequential action prediction. Or if you want to know more details, please go to the paper session. Finally, thanks all our speakers, and thank you to attend our tutorial. Next will be our panel discussion. You can ask a question to any speakers in this session. Thank you.